Transhuman Genocide, Enemy at the Gate. The ultimate guide to directed energy weapons. If you're new here, I'm Leanna. This is Non-Toxic Home, and I'm a canary in a coal mine of this toxic world. Poisoned, filled by Western medicine, modern construction, and corporate interests. This includes non-native EMFs. Yes, this is all about what has happened to me and my husband over, well, my lifetime, really. And it, of course, includes a lot on non-native EMFs and the impact that it's had on our lives. Radio frequencies cause me to have heart attack symptoms. They have also slammed my throat shut on me more times than I can count. Gone into anaphylaxis more times than I can count. I will be drinking my tea during this discussion. This is my tea from the video, These Herbs Saved My Life, which I'll link to. That discussion, I believe it was December of 2022 when that event happened. Those herbs pulled me out of that event. I'll also link below to how a smart meter almost killed me 3 times and how a small cell tower stole my only grocery store, as well as an article on EMFs and mast cells, which is pretty well cited. As far as targeted individuals go, you might be wondering, are you a targeted individual? Yes and no. I've got an old video up on that as well about how we are and how we aren't targeted individuals. But if you think that that's just a whack job conspiracy theory, think again. There is a post that I'll link to below on our website that has a video from a gentleman who I refer to as DARPA dude. He is incredibly well qualified, let's say, as far as in academia, and he was a consultant, at least he used to be, maybe he still is, for DARPA, and he basically had a lecture in which he tried to essentially garner consent from people for this program. So it's not a whack job thought that there are indeed targeted individuals. And of course, I'm sure you've seen on the news about Havana syndrome. They claim to have been targeted, so there's that. Newsletter subscribers of ours, it's a free newsletter, go sign up for on the website, and those who've recently reviewed or listened to my video, The Current Trajectory of Society is Not Sustainable, well, you know I'm getting hit by magnetic fields here. And they're from the power lines that are way at the front of our property, and that's new. Earlier this year, we started getting hit by radio frequencies on that side of the house, and so I addressed that where they were coming in, and then they started coming in over here, so I addressed the radio frequencies here, and that gave me relief from the radio frequencies for a month or so, and then I started having this throat swelling, not just on that side of the house, but in the garden as well. Well, it turned out that I should have grabbed my meters before. It was magnetic fields coming from the electric lines. So if you think that power lines are totally safe, well, they actually emit radio frequencies, by the way, and that's nothing new, but that's the reason why we have the house situated back in our property. I took readings as far as electrical, magnetic, and radio frequency readings before siding our home. And so that's a problem now. However, do stay tuned. Please subscribe everywhere because we're shadow banned everywhere, and you never know when the newsletter option might be taken away for us everywhere. So please just subscribe everywhere, just to be on the safe side. So just go to our website and just scroll down and you'll find everywhere that we post everything. Alright, so as you might imagine, I've got a lot to say about this book. And this is about the book. This isn't about the gentleman who wrote the book, all right? This is just like if anyone reviewed this book or this book, Non-Toxic Cleaning for the Healthy Home, which of course I recommend because I wrote it. You know, that you're reviewing the book. You're reviewing a thing, not a person. So I don't know the person, never communicated with the person. I've watched 3 of his videos, maybe 4 ever in my entire life. They're kind of dark, I gotta say. Tesla spirits, we're supposed to be in the light. If you're focused on the darkness, it's gonna hold you down. It's gonna hold you down. Now, I should be dead. I'll link to that article as well. How am I still alive? The amount of just 2 different medications that I took on a daily basis has killed a lot of people. It's a miracle I'm alive, you guys. It really is. It really, really is. So, for example, Zantac been taken off the market, and I overdosed on that every day for a couple years, maybe? Literally every day. The same goes for Benadryl or diphenhydramine, the generic. So, yeah. If I focused on the problems, if I focused on what the psychopaths of the world are doing, I wouldn't be sitting here sharing information with you practically. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about the drawbacks of the book, and then some of the good things about the book, and then I'll have some final thoughts. And Kitty wants to say hi. Hi, sweetheart. Not right now, darling. All right, so drawbacks. This book, I mean, if you look at the picture here and just consider the title, well, it's rather conspiratorial, and so that's not going to appeal to a lot of people. It's going to appeal to some people, but not to a lot of people. Some people might find it offensive because everything's offensive. You say hello and smile at someone and they could be offended today. So you can't even say Mr. or Mrs. or Miss anymore without potentially offending someone. So, which used to be a term of respect, but now it's not. So that could offend some people. As you might imagine, if you're someone who's been subscribed for a while, or have read either or both of the books, which I'll link to the page with the books on them. If you've read many of our articles, which got hundreds of articles posted, I've got a decent amount of things to say here, and I apologize. Kitty's probably going to be continuing to interrupt us. EMF shielding or clothing or armor or whatever you want to call it isn't for everyone, and that's suggested here, and it's definitely not the case. So I personally, I've tried multiple things from different brands, and they all act as antennas for me. So I cannot recommend shielding clothing for everyone. It's if you know that you have EHS, electromagnetic hypersensitivity syndrome, it's about a 50-50 shot, it seems, as to whether shielding clothing, including hats, helps you or hurts you. For me, it hurts me. For my husband, it doesn't hurt him to that extent, but it does not help him. He actually starts to have trouble breathing when he tries to wear shielding clothing. And like I said, I've tried multiple brands, and I've tried multiple things. A cheap way to find out is to get a piece of, or not a piece, but an emergency blanket, a Mylar blanket, and cut it into like a poncho, put it on. I've got an old video, I think it's from 2000 or something, maybe 2019. Put it on, see how you feel. See if it helps or hinders you. It may help you, it may hurt you. So there's a lot of information on that, and it is practical information in that regard. But it's very important that I share with you that it could hurt you. It might not help you. Okay. And and here's a quote, any type of EMF clothing can save your life. Well, no, not if it kills you. Okay. It gives me chest pains, heart palpitation. It basically gives me a heart attack. So, no, not for me. No. Also, this book is definitely not as long as it looks. The print is pretty large, and there's tons of pictures. I mean, I'm not complaining about the pictures and stuff, but it's definitely not as long as it looks. So, compare that to, you know, the type here. And no pictures. Definitely not as long as it looks. It's kind of expensive too. It's $30, and I know that he says that other books that are similar would be over $100. I don't know what books he's talking about because I've read a lot of books. I'm pretty well read, especially in health-related topics that relate to me personally, and I didn't spend that kind of money on any EMF-related books, so I'm not sure what books he's talking about. Anyways, he also says, and I quote, some anti-EMF stickers for phones can slightly mitigate radiation, end quote. I don't know what stickers he's talking about, but as far as I'm concerned, I would save your money on that. Again, I apologize for Kitty. Kitty, you gotta wait. This book does seem to be aimed more towards targeted individuals, which is not really most people, you know, including the EMF sensitive folks. You know, just because you're sensitive to EMFs doesn't mean that you're a targeted individual. He also says, and I quote, every device that is plugged into a power supply puts out a very strong electric field. Not according to my meters. So again, I don't know. I do question how this is on Amazon still, because my book Poisoned, I mean, it's not like conspiratorial or anything. It's just a documentation of, hey, this is what my life has been like. This is what has happened. These were the causes. You know, my book's a warning against trusting the experts. I'm not sure how his book is still on Amazon. With mine, almost, like, it was a few hours away from getting taken off of Amazon, and an actual human finally stepped in and stopped it from getting, it was literally like 3 hours away from getting taken off of the platform. So I don't know. His book is only available on Amazon, which is a little bit odd. You know, our books are, you can literally go to your library and tell your librarian that you want an e-version or a print version of either of our books. And when we have more books out, then that'll be the case for them as well. You go to your library, you get them at your library. You can order them from Barnes & Noble. You can get them, literally order them just about anywhere, including from Apple Books and all of the places. So I do question how this is on Amazon. One thing that really puzzles me is the suggestion, not even a suggestion, the assertion that HDPE, aka house wrap, or more commonly referred to as Tyvek, attenuates or reduces EMF fields. Almost every home these days has house wrap of some sort on it, even if it's just in the foam board. As one of those sort of zip systems. They generally have HDPE, not always, but generally, and I have not noticed. That's a bit puzzling to me. Polyurethane does not protect from microwaves either, as asserted. So I'm just not sure. I don't know where that's coming from. He does have a solution with using epoxy and putting specific things in epoxy that, you know, I'm sure that would be of benefit based on the information as to what he's putting in the epoxy. However, epoxy is extremely toxic, so you'd want to be sure that you seal it. Also, he says that these concepts are sourced from the very best researchers in the field of electromagnetism and include concepts that are far ahead of anything else you can find published. Very best researchers, according to whom? But then later on, he recommends scientific journals for, quote, newest concepts. So I don't know. I don't know. I also am not certain how he knows, or how I'm sure he's a lovely person. This is not an attack on the person. These are just questions that don't make any sense to me as someone who's pretty careful in drawing conclusions myself. Vapor barriers lead to mold, FYI, so if you're putting foil, etc., on your floor, ceiling, or wall, just know that there's a mold risk associated with that. I have to think of all of the things. I have to think of EMFs. I have to think of chemicals. I have to think of EMFs, chemicals, mold. I'm extremely sensitive to all of these things. All of these things can kill me. So I can't just think of radio frequencies, or just think of electric fields, or just think of magnetic fields. I'm not certain how it is known that some things work for the frequencies that have not yet been, number one, approved by the FCC to be used via towers, or two, been used by the towers yet, that have been approved by the FCC. Also, I don't know what kind of meters were used for the research that went on in this. That would be relevant. That'd be a very expensive proposition to purchase those meters. You need at least $20,000 worth of meters to measure a lot of the frequencies, because it's suggested that field testing has been done, and you can't field test for something that's not being radiated out by a tower. Yeah, so I'm just not sure about that. We aren't going to stop this. People don't want to know the truth. EMFs cause harm, chemicals cause harm. It's very inconvenient for people to recognize and understand that we're living in a completely different reality, and that everything's toxic, and everything's just the world has just gone nuts. People don't want to know that, and people aren't waking up to that, and they aren't going to wake up to that. There is a suggestion to reinforce furniture from collapse using tape. Tape isn't structurally sound. There's that. Grounding, he's got good information on grounding in here. It's pretty short, but one thing I wanted to add, if you decide to opt for this information, is that when it comes to grounding, you want to be sure that you only use one ground, that you don't use multiple grounds. So there are a number of EMF sensitive persons, as well as people who aren't actually sensitive to EMFs. She wants out, sorry. Who've had building biologists out and have discovered that their house actually has two grounds, and then they had currents going through their house. So you gotta be careful with that. All right. A lot of people have ended up sick as a result of that grounding issue. We here are in a woods. We're 30 minutes from the city. As you might imagine, our home is pretty well optimized as far as non-native EMFs go, and our kitty here doesn't actually ground anymore outside. Yeah, I've been talking about it for actually since 2020, I think, how grounding isn't what it used to be. So, you know, considering all of the EMF issues that one has in one's life, regardless of whether you think you're a targeted individual or not, which I'm not commenting on. I'm just saying whether you think that or not. If you think of every single problem that you have as an attack, you're going to get depressed. That's a very problematic mindset to have. I'm an overcomer, yo. This world is not my home. This toxic world is not my home. This is not my reward, and I am very happy about that. So if I had that mentality, I would have given up on life so many years ago, you guys. No way. No way would I have made it through what I have come through. So just, you know, I didn't, okay, so here's what I didn't read. I didn't read the front section, which, well, I skimmed it a little bit. The front section, which is about the technology, because I'm not supposed to know the deep things of the evil one. I'm not supposed to know that stuff. And I also didn't read the FAQ section too much. I looked some. In there, did I really learn anything? Yeah, actually, I did learn some things. If I were to make my own EMF clothing stuff, it's got really good information on some strategies with that, as well as with hats. I like his approach to lead, which is reasonable, okay? And which some people just go off the deep end both ways with lead. They would go one way or the other. They would say it's perfectly fine, you can just eat it, or then it's either that or it's the most toxic thing in the world and you can never ever be around it, blah 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 blah. And he's much more middle of the road. The author is much more middle of the road on that. There are definitely some things that I don't know about in here. You know, he talks about paraffin wax. I don't know about that. That's you know, I don't know. But there are, you know, like I said, there are definitely some things that I disagree with in here. But there are a lot of things that I agree with as well. When it comes to shielding magnetic fields, okay, this is incredibly complex, and shielding a magnetic field would be far out of the scope of any book. This is one thing that I have learned. Magnetic fields are really tricky. I will link below to an article from GeoVital. They are written by a geobiologist. Okay, that is not an assertion that everything from them I agree with. I don't agree with everything from anyone, period. And including myself. So I go back a few years, I've changed my mind about a lot of things because I've learned more information. So just like any human who is rational, who's not an NPC, your beliefs should change over time. My beliefs should change over time as well. Like I said, I haven't read all of the FAQs, but there is some information in here that I was unaware of. Does it help me in my situation? No, unfortunately not. Unfortunately, it does not help. I didn't really learn anything to help myself. There is an assertion in the book that if you add shielding and it helps, that you're automatically a targeted individual. That's definitely not the case, because the radio frequencies are just everywhere. We're in the middle of a woods in a fairly remote area. We are targeted by dirigibles, and he asserts that they are blimps as well, there are very few people who understand this. Most people say, well, SpaceX and et al., those satellites can't harm you because they're so far away. They can't cause any problems at all. You're all just nut jobs who say any otherwise. They're not far away. We can watch them at night here moving around. One not one night, but multiple nights, we thought that our neighbor was up on the hill over there with a flashlight. No, that was a balloon. Yeah, they're very close. I don't know how close, but they're very close. We've seen near collisions at night with planes, and we're not the only people, so. RFs are ubiquitous today. Like I said, they're also emitted from electrical fields, from electrical lines. Now, it could be the broadband, because we do have rural broadband here, which is 5G infrastructure, by the way. So they also emit magnetic and electrical fields as well. And now apparently the radio frequencies have increased from there, as well as now the magnetic fields. So there's that. I mean, it's a good 200 feet from power lines. Okay. Yeah. But can you shield magnetic? The reason that I bought this book is because I thought I might find information about magnetic fields that I didn't know. Unfortunately, I didn't. Because shielding magnetic fields, shielding them, often causes more problems than not. Please, please read the article that I will link to below from GeoVital, from a geobiologist. It's very important. Very important. Here are the things that I agree with, which are a lot of things. Orgonite's not a solution. People who are pushing orgonite on you, run from them. They just want your money. They just want your money. Orgonite doesn't work. I tried orgonite in multiple different configurations and it did nothing. I'll tell you, it does work. Not necessarily from a detectable standpoint, but from an... Shh, my kitty girl. She's very I know, hold on. I'm almost done. But from the perspective of someone who is an EMF canary, shungite, it's not a guarantee. It may or may not help you. I don't know. But on me, I've had shungite pyramids and shungite items around that did absolutely nothing. But a shungite necklace, if I forget to, I wear this all of the time except for when I'm in the bathtub. If I forget to wear this, I'm screwed. And I do forget to wear it sometimes, and then I do end up screwed. Here's another thing that I haven't shared yet publicly, but I've shared in the newsletter, is myrrh essential oil, which it is really, if I don't use this, I tried not using it on the weekends, and actually I forgot. That's how I know things help me, because I forget to use them, and then I realize, oh yeah, I didn't use that, and I felt terrible. Myrrh essential oil. This is from now. You don't need to spend a ton. Now, if you've read my book, Non-Toxic Cleaning for the Healthy Home, then you know my stance on essential oils. Essential oils are medicine. They are not to be put everywhere and everything. This is medicine. Medicine. So here's how I use the myrrh essential oil. Usually, sometimes there's some on the top. Yeah, see, there's some on the top. Otherwise, I just get a drop and I put it here. Now, this is the wrong way. This is wrong think. Okay, this is wrong do. I'm sorry, aromatherapists out there. You're gonna hate me for this. I put it right on my skin. No carrier oil. And I've been doing this for about a month now. I've been using it for about a month, I think. It's so essential. Oh man, you guys, I'm just constantly having to add things so that I can survive. All right, so more things that we agree on. Most products only offer, most EMF related products only offer just a false sense of security, placebo effect. Yeah, he is spot on with that. There are so few people who say that, you guys. And I know I'm saying he, and it's about the book, it's not about him, but it's the author, whatever his name is. It's not on the front, so I don't even know. Like I said, I've literally listened to like 4 of his videos, so I really don't have an opinion on the person. But the author in this book states, you know, that most EMF related products are scams. Those pretty bowls with pretty little rocks in them that are thousands of dollars, those are scams. I've got a video that I recorded about EMF necklaces that I'll get up at some point, God willing. Unless it's Shanghai, don't bother. They're scams as well. Run. If you've got that kind of money, hey, PayPal, buy me a coffee, Patreon. If you want an invoice, I'll send you an invoice. Go buy our books. Got all sorts of ways to support us if you've got money to burn. Distance is your friend. Yes, absolutely. He also is very clear, and he repeats about how nothing is 100% effective and how things change. It's a changing environment. Yeah. Obviously, because we didn't have any detectable magnetic fields or radio frequencies up here on the north side of our house for years. And then early this year, radio frequencies over here, but not anywhere else. So I put shielding, I put just aluminum window screen up on the outside over here, which I'll share that information, God willing. And then the radio frequencies moved over here. So I shielded that. So then gave me a reprieve for a month, and they decided to fry me with magnetic frequencies. So not that I'm saying that is a targeted, that someone is thinking about this. I'm not saying it's AI or computer code or whatever. I'm just saying these are the experiences that I have. This is what happens. If I sat around and thought about how I'm a targeted individual and the system's coming at me all the time, I would never do anything. I would be paralyzed with fear and anxiety. I'm a conqueror. I'm an overcomer. This world has nothing on me. Satan's the prince of the power of the air. So all that stuff that goes over the air, you know what? I trample on serpents. I have been given power, the power of the creator within me. So yeah, I have armor that is spiritual, that cannot be pierced. And yeah, sometimes that armor falls down a little bit, but if it does, well, you know what? Tribulation worketh patience. Patience worketh experience. Experience hope, and hope maketh me not ashamed. It's all got a purpose. Anything that happens to me physically, it's got a purpose. I have the mind of Christ. So, as he says, nothing's 100% effective. There's more that we don't know than we do know. Basically, he says, yeah. Or the book says. And it says it's mostly about buying time. Okay. Also, that lab test can be rigged. Yes. Have you been listening to me for years? Go back to our archives from 2019. You know, I was talking about how science wasn't scientific back then, and sharing all sorts of information. Like, there was a guy who got funding from the government for 70 experiments on, I think it was 70 experiments on cancer. It was discovered that he faked every single experiment and every single study that was published. They were all fake. He made it all up, everything. Just pocketed the money. His punishment was that he couldn't get federal funding for a year. That is science today. He also mentions about feeling like you're in the Matrix, surrounded by NPCs, non-player characters. And if you aren't familiar with video games, an NPC is a non-player character. That is someone who's just computer code in a game. It's not an actual person. So if you ask a question to the NPC, then you only get these canned answers. You get the same answer all the time. Sound familiar? Oh my goodness, yes. And everything is toxic. Yes, everything is toxic. And yes, there is a concerted effort. Absolutely. Yeah. So some final thoughts. So obviously there are pros, there are cons. You know what? If somebody reviewed either one of these, they're going to be pros and cons too. So there's that. I will link to this book on Amazon if you want to look at it more. if you are a targeted individual, it's probably a good thing to check out the book. I think that you can probably request that at your library if something's on Amazon, but I'm not for sure. I just don't know for sure. So some final thoughts. Do you want to survive? This is a valid question that you need to ask yourself. Do you want to live in a new world order? Do you want to live in a dystopia even though we're already living in one? Now, personally, I just want relief, and I want to be left alone. Some of the strategies that he uses, will I use them? Probably not. I mean, definitely not when it comes to the wearables aspect. But I know some of you who are EMF sensitive really benefit from, like I said, it's about 50-50 shot, but some of you really benefit from the wearables. So if you do benefit, and you know that you do, I absolutely recommend this book. For sure. If you're having trouble shielding your home from EMFs of whatever sort, except for magnetic fields, I gotta say, I don't recommend it in regards to magnetic fields, but radio frequency, other fields, you might find some benefit from the information, for sure. Can anyone really save themselves? Well, I kill and I make alive, I wound and I heal. So no, none of us can actually save ourselves. If you have not already explored our website, tried things like, myrrh essential oil, ashwagandha. If you go to our website, search ashwagandha, got a post up on that. Ashwagandha is essential for both Dave and I. We don't function without it. EMF related, and I know some of you who also suffer with EHS. Same thing. Ashwagandha. You've tried it. I recommended it. You tried it, and it's amazing for you as well. We have lots of free info up online in regards to EMFs. We've also got a video on the website and most places online in regards to shielding but that's in regards to shielding radio frequencies, and it doesn't address scalar waves, nor does it address microwaves, really, because microwaves are much more difficult to shield than just regular radio frequencies, which is, you got a piece of metal, okay, there you go. There goes radio frequencies. That's different. Personally, I control what I can. I focus on the good, stay in the light, focus on the light. But I know that my weapons and my armor are not physical. This is a spiritual battle that we're in. So do I recommend this book? Maybe. If you are, I've already said, if you know that EMF shielding clothing helps you, then absolutely, because there's some information in here that I've not seen anywhere else in that regard. Anywhere else. So in that regard, yes. If you haven't tried some of the things on our website, some of the cheaper, more simpler things to start with, then not yet. I wouldn't recommend it yet. It might be something that you need to invest in later down the road. If you have money, if you've got time to do these things, perhaps, you might find information that benefits you. But more important is spiritual, emotional, and mental preparedness. Just like you've got so many preppers who are prepping for the apocalypse, but they're not prepping for, EMF related issues. They aren't addressing, well, how do I distill water because everything's going to be more and more toxic? They aren't addressing, well, the fact that their prepper supplies aren't going to save them, or the fact that EMF weapons can just take somebody out. which the United States uses those. They're very public about them, that they use them in other countries. So if they use them in other countries, are they going to use them here? Do they use them here? Yeah, obviously. Could this be an important tool in your tool bag? Yeah, it could be. Do I disagree with some things? Yeah. You know what? I probably, you know what, I haven't read my cleaning book for a bit. I probably disagree with some things in my cleaning book now. You know? I don't think I do, because I just published it in February or something like that. So it's pretty recent. Probably not. But you know what? I'm always experimenting. I'm always trying new things. I'm always learning new things. If you're looking online and trying to research online EMFs, you're not going to find hardly any information, especially, well, I would say via any search engine. You're going to find very little information. So if you aren't aware of the dangers and of the technology, even at a superficial level, then this probably would be a good introduction to the technology. Like I said, I just skimmed that portion because I don't need to know. I know enough, and I'm good with that. I don't need to know more about that. So focus on the good. Do I recommend the book? Maybe, maybe not. You know, just like anything else, everyone's different. Everyone's situation is different. You know, if you're broke, then no, because the strategies in here are going to cost you money. At some point, they're not free strategies. So, and the book isn't free either. So I hope this has, helped someone decide whether or not they want to purchase the book. And I've also just dumped a load of EMF related information on you. If it's been a benefit to you, then please subscribe to us everywhere. Like I said, go click to our website and go subscribe everywhere, because you just never know these days. And, there are a lot of pictures in this book. Actually, I guess the pictures are not in the FAQ section. Yeah, so the FAQ section is longer than I realized. But, there are a lot of pictures in the book. It's large type, which is going to be good for people who have eye problems due to EMF issues like this gal. So, something to consider. Maybe, maybe not, depending on who you are. So, till next time, hang in there, focus on the good. Non-toxic out.